Anyway, as she was walking along, she fell into this manhole. Next stop, Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, that was deep. Um, how about this one? Um, this is not me saying this, by the way. This
Mm.
is what I've got from. So it looks like the writing's on the wall, people. Right? Um, Everything that was pledged is to be broken. Okay, and we aren't even 1 month in.
Mm.
Now I know we're still a little bit away from pantomime season, but if a certain person should be on stage playing the lead role in, of course, the pantomime of Pinocchio. Um, and then his nose would be even bigger than it is now. So I got personal there. called
Well,
called him called him a liar. You know,
well,
that,
well,
that
we
was that
told.
was well hidden in my little preamble.
Yes.
Now, of course, I'm on about Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, where four of their pledges they ran on are to
Mm.
be about to be blown out of the water. Um, the first one was about income tax, and that they were not going to go after income tax. Unelected Tony Blair came on the scene, just as I suppose the Conservatives' David Cameron,
Mm.
he decided to raise his ugly head again.
Yeah.
Tony Blair, and he said he's called for tax hikes over the next couple of years. And you
Mm.
could argue that he's not elected, so what he says is not important. However,
Really.
however,
Mm.
uh, the the new uh, chancellor has said that the till that holds all the government money is in
Mm.
a worse shape than what you thought it would be,
Mm.
which
That's a
normally
shame.
is which is normally trying to put the blame on somebody else,
Yeah.
right? If they do something that they pledge not to do,
Mm.
then they can say, well, it's not our fault, it's what we were given.
Mm.
So that's two little tidbits that are contributing to my theory that income tax will be hit. Uh, that's number one.
Yeah.
Um, Illegal immigration and the small boats.
Mm.
Uh, Keir Starmer said he's gone to the US for
Oh,
that
yeah.
NATO summit, right? And he said that the situation will get worse before it gets better, which basically means he's going to be doing nothing about it.
Mm.
And when the warm weather comes, there are going to be more and more and more people crossing the
Mm.
channel.
Yeah.
He said that implementing his war against the cartels of
Mm.
getting the people across, he said it takes time to implement.
Mm.
Basically, what he's saying is, I haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
think I think that's a fair I think that's a fair assumption, because if he had a clue, it would be from day one he would have implemented that, but he hasn't.
yeah. It's
Let me go
it's
on, because
Yeah, yeah, I'm allowing you because I'm wondering, like you say, it's a pantomime that's unfolding.
right, right, right. The NHS, let's go on for that one.
Yeah.
They're not going to get any money soon, because so the waiting lists aren't going to be reduced, I don't think.
No.
I know that the health minister is going to be meeting with junior doctors to try and resolve their strike. He said that there's no immediate fix, but I think he's trying to promise them that further along the road, they'll be recompensed, I suppose is the word.
Oh, well, yeah, good enough. Yeah.
But of course, Starmer, he prefers to spend money on Ukraine, right? And also the military. He's wanted to raise spending money on the military. The military is already skint,
Yeah.
and he's sending more and more weapons to Ukraine in a war that the UK doesn't belong in.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with nothing to do with the UK. It's between Zelensky and Putin, and let them sort it out between them.
Oh, yeah.
But Starmer, nevertheless, he's wanting to prop up the military-industrial complex by sending weapons, more and more weapons, spending more and more money on a futile war.
Yeah.
And once the coffers have got to the bottom again, he's pledging that he's going to spend 2.5% of the PIB of the
the GDP.
Yeah, GDP. I keep on thinking in Portuguese from time
Yeah,
to time.
yeah. The Brazilian equivalent of GDP is called PIB. Yeah.
It's going to be spending that. It's going to be 2.5% of that on the military.
Yeah.
Chances are that might even mean spending less on the military than what they spend now, which is currently at 2%, because we don't know what the GDP is going to be in the future. If the GDP is in real terms is lower, they're going to be spending less, So don't believe percentages, people. Don't believe percentages, because that's just, you need to know in real pounds, shillings, and pence what's going to be spent.
Yes, that's it.
And of course, finally, the building of all these homes on Greenland. So far, 3 Labour MPs have spoken out about this, and they all said the same thing: not in my backyard.
Well, cool.
Right?
Of course.
And it seems to be a growing trend. So, where are these houses going to be built in the end? Because not everybody's got green belt, have they? Not all councils and counties have got that much. Some have got more green belt than others. And so the tendency would be to put the houses where there's more green belt, those not to industrialize one particular county. Which, of course, would mean going to the Cotswolds and places like that. And I'm sure the people in the Cotswolds won't want a housing estate full of immigrants on their doorstep.
Definitely, yeah.
That's just an idea that came into my mind. And
no, I was way ahead of you. That's why I just laughed.
You spend £2 million on a Cotswold cottage, and you put flowers in the window, and all of a sudden you've got the council estate people walking by, throwing mud on your windows.
Yes. Yeah.
So there you go. I don't see Labour lasting longer than you can suck a zoob, I suppose, on at this rate.
Yeah.
I'm sure look, if Labour goes tits up this time, it's going to put the British government in a right pickle, whoever it is.
Well,
I'll be honest with you, on the outside looking in, as we do, like I said at the beginning of this, the writing is on the wall already, and it's going to get it's going to get very complicated in the future, in the not too distant future, by the way.
Get complicated? Really?
Over to you. Over to you.
Yeah, it already is complicated. Right. Okay. With regards to Tony Blair, when I see Tony Blair, there's an American comedian called Jeff Dunbar who has a load of glove puppets, and I see. Obviously, I see I see Tony Blair operating a glove puppet called Keir Starmer. Yeah, it
Be
just
great.
comes to mind. Yeah,
It'd
you
be
won't be
great.
able to look at. Yeah, you won't be able to look at
Great
Jeff.
spitting image. It's a spitting
Well,
image.
well, let's be honest. You couldn't really tell the. Okay, the way of speaking of thing, you couldn't really tell the difference between Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak. Then you got the two people behind it all, David Cameron, and Tony Blair. Let's just face it, David Cameron was trying to be Tony Blair to get, when he's Prime Minister. You can't, as the expression goes, it's politically incorrect. I've never spoke, but you can't get a fag packet between them. Or uni party, ultimately. It's a worrying thing. I mean, we all know that the economy, possibly the UK is in a better state than most other European economies. I don't know.
That is going to bite them in the arse.
Well, I can't remember a time when. I can't remember a time like this. I can vaguely remember the 1970s and seeing some news things, particularly the late 70s, okay, just before a certain unifying, one way or another, leader came in. Labour all over the place then. When you tell me Keir Starmer's thought of admitting he didn't know, he doesn't need to admit anything to me. I already can see that. I've never actually witnessed an election where everybody wanted to lose. That's all I'm going to say. If you think about the way the election was going until a certain entity came in, it was almost as if people wanted a coalition because there was no real struggle to take the lead. Or was there a deal between the Conservative higher-ups and the Labour that they'd just swap across? I've been telling a joke. I hope everybody's registered to vote in the November elections, and I don't mean the US, I mean the UK. Because I think if this government lasts that long, it's doing well. You can agree or disagree. I mean, it's a joke. It's probably an overemphasis. I think
I'm waiting for the 3-day week and the power cuts. They're gonna come back and haunt us.
Whoa. This is the 21st century, man. We're meant to be all energy. Energy is going up. They've raised the water up 22% and put restrictions on today. 10 water, I think that is. It's the UK. This sounds very strange to anyone listening from outside the UK. And we can talk about a lot of things. I'm glad I live in Brazil because I think I would go absolutely. I'm actually a calm person. Steve and myself were talking off camera or socially about this the other day, that I'm actually quite. Steve does. I said to Steve, I lost my temper the other day in front of you, and Steve said, "What?" Because I'm actually, not really a violent sort of aggressive person like that.
He raised his eyebrows, people.
I really can't be bothered most of the time to lose my temper. I know my wife will probably go, "What?" But yeah, I'm saying in real life, things around family, yes. But I think I'd be going absolutely berserk in the UK. Honestly, we put up with a lot of things in Brazil. The people in the UK, it's like Brazil on speed at the moment. The ridiculousness of everything. I can accept the craziness in Brazil. It makes sense. The craziness in the UK makes absolutely no sense to me. If you told me it's been deliberately orchestrated, I'd believe you, because I do not believe anybody can be accidentally this incompetent on whatever affiliation they are. Anyone that seems to speak logically with some common sense, okay, I know it's opinionated things, seems to get shouted down. The lunatics have taken over the asylum, quite literally. And they're telling us we're the crazy people. They're telling 40 million people they're crazy. They're certainly telling 4 million people they're crazy. Yeah. And I'd really like, Steve, I do not have the answers. Yes, I could be critical. Well, I do know the answers. But if I was to say them here, we'd probably have this podcast removed within seconds. So,
The Secret Service will come knocking on my door.
well, yeah, we just offered to take them to the beach and give them some coconut juice. You know, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
They probably don't want to be. They don't want to be going back any more than we would want to be. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. I'm going to get serious. The Ukraine war. How not to organise a party in a brewery is basically what's happening with that. You're giving money to what was regarded just before it all kicked off in Ukraine as one of, if not the most corrupt countries in the world. I'm not suggesting for a moment Zelensky is particularly good or bad, particularly bad or good. I don't know, but I can only see what I can see. Yeah. All I say, yeah. I just picture him playing the piano. So again, when we're talking about pantomime, we've got one of the lead actors in that as well. Yeah.
Zelensky lost control a long, long time ago. He tried to control the Azov Brigade when it was a little bit smaller than what it is now, and they told him to shut up, and which he did do. And ever since then, he's been controlled by greater powers, namely the US. He's just taking the money, putting it in his bank account, and just saying what the others are telling him what to say.
Well, he's in no position. He's in no position to make me an offer I can't refuse. But he really is in an offer he can't refuse. Yeah.
But I don't. I think as the UK is in such a tight financially. I said this about Grant Shapps some time ago. I said he's beating his chest, you know, trying to be the big guy when really the UK hasn't got anything to give. And it seems like Starmer is wanting to give them the rest that we don't have, you know.
Well,
and it's going to leave the British Army as it is. They said that if the UK was in a war, they'd have enough ammunition to last a month, and that's it. They wouldn't have it. They don't have. The UK doesn't have means to replenish arms at a great pace like the Russians do.
Well, this is it. I mean, yeah, we were meant to be beaten. The Russians were meant to be beaten back into Russia by now, and they're still hanging around in Ukraine. That's not winning a war to me. I always thought the notion of winning the war is that the other army was disappearing.
And Russia basically are where they want to be. They only want the eastern part of Ukraine, the Donbass, the Crimea.
I mean, as I said, if the people in that region would prefer Russian influence, then maybe that's what we've got to be looking at.
Look, Crimea, Donbass, they all had a referendum, and the Donbass region said they want to be independent. Yeah. They became independent between themselves. You know, that's what started all the civil war in the first place, where the west of Ukraine firing missiles on the Donbass, and the Donbass said to Putin, "Help us out here."
Yeah, I mean,
which is the conflict in the Ukraine today? To just keep it all simple.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard anecdotally of there are Russian people, Russian Ukrainians living in the western part of Ukraine. You said, what took Putin so long? I've heard that almost secondhand. Well, from a person who's contacted someone I know. So what took Putin so long? If it all ended tomorrow, as you have alluded to, Zelensky has an even bigger problem internally. There's going to be a power struggle. He's finished.
Well, he's done. That's that long time.
I mean, I hope he's got a bag packed ready to run to an airport somewhere with his own helicopter with crew truss.
He's going to go to his mother-in-law's mansion in Riyadh somewhere. I think it is.
Yeah,
Egypt, somewhere in the Middle East, somewhere.
You can still be got out there. But no, it's a it's a troubling thing in Europe at the moment. I'm I watch the news. I mean, I've actually stopped watching so much news from the UK at the moment because I still have more of an emotional connection with the UK than Brazil in many ways. Yeah, I can watch the news in Brazil and see, oh, well, they're just having their little pantomime in the Senate. And that's not decrying. Yeah, Brazil, I love being here. I enjoy being here. Members of my family don't always understand, but both Brazilians and English. But it's a nice country to be in and chill in.
I think
It is a struggle.
I think when your family in the UK are on ration stamps, they'll start to.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, look. I'm going to say to the people in the UK, and I mean the general population in the UK. Yeah, you now have to make a decision about what the next move is. The people in the UK have now got to decide to do things. Write to your MPs, tell them exactly what you think. Exactly what you think politely. Of course, I wouldn't say threaten them or anything else. I'm not advocating that. The administration in Brazil, in the UK, 80% of the administration, 80% of the voting population in the UK did not vote for them. I know it's a complicated thing. Some people didn't vote. Only 60% who could vote did vote, which is appalling numbers, in my opinion, because democracies can be lost very, very quickly. And if you give people an excuse, particularly the people we've got in power now, to do that, they will do it. Not necessarily them, the people above them. We know who we're talking about. I think the way that Rishi Sunak organised the election was definitely to stop other people becoming more influential and able to get themselves together, which they proved. The way that he knew exactly what was going to happen with the first past the post. One side or the other of the uni party was still going to win. It was a close run thing. We all know that a party that gets 4 million votes, and I'm not necessarily putting down my affiliation, I'm looking at hard facts here. And I'm not suggesting that any other party getting in could do much better either, given the resources and the situation it's in. But I'm just sort of saying that we're going to have to make a decision that somebody that wins gets 4 million votes and only gets, 4 or 5 politicians sitting in the House of Commons. Out of, what is it, 40 million voters? 60? It's not 60, is it 45 million voters or something? That doesn't seem right. And Rishi knew this. Starmer knew this. They're not stupid people. They're playing power politics. Well, when it comes to their own good, they're not stupid people.
Politicians aren't.
Mm.
When it comes to themselves,
yeah,
looking after themselves, so they're very, very, very robust.
Starmer is not operating in the best interests of the British voters. I'm not saying that Rishi was either, Rishi Sunak. I mean, okay, there's other options. I don't know, untested, untried. Yeah, in the UK, we have got to seriously think how we do have people come to power. And same, France is not exactly the same problem. France probably has a bigger problem with the way its system works. And yes, as you sort of said, there's a housing problem. There's an immigration problem. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that all immigration is a problem. Of course it's not. It's not being controlled. As you're saying, oh, sorry, we can't deliver what we've had because it was worse than I thought. Hang on, what's going on here? They all knew exactly what the situation was. If they didn't, that's where you say they're idiots. They're now pretending all to be idiots and not have understood the situation.
Well,
yeah. So,
yeah. Just to wind this up, just a little thing that there's just beginning to come through the wires. It's something to keep your eyes and ears open for. The guy looking after the NHS. Check out his vested interests. That's all I'm saying.
Well, on that note, Steve, I'm shocked and horrified if a politician has vested interests. That's all I'm going to say on that one.